Motown on the banks of the Detroit River. The scene tonight for ESPN's Tuesday Night Baseball as the Texas Rangers are here to take on the Detroit Tigers. A battle of second-place teams in the American League. Detroit 8 back of Toronto, while Texas only 3 back of Minnesota in the West. Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Zabriskie, and along with Tommy Hutton, as usual, we welcome you to Game 1 of our Tuesday night doubleheader. And Hut, 2 teams in second place, but really that's about the only similarity. They even got there differently.
Yeah, 2 teams that have scored a lot of runs, too. The Texas Rangers and the Detroit Tigers lead the American League in runs scored. You can see the Texas Rangers have a better batting average. That's because they have some pure hitters, guys like Franco, Palmeiro, and Sierra. On the other hand, all the strikeouts go to the Detroit Tigers. Over 100 strikeouts more the Tigers have than the Rangers because of Tettleton, Deere, Fielder. And one of the things that's amazing, Sparky Anderson has been able to handle this club almost the same way he handled clubs back in the 70s with the Cincinnati Reds. A different look he gets from his Tigers.
I just go along with whatever club I have and basically let them go. I've always believed this. Let your players play because they're the guys that are going to do it. Just like Bobby Valentine does with those thumpers he has over there. You know, he just lets them go and he says, go to the rooftop. And those kids, they go to the rooftop.
Another interesting aspect tonight, Kevin Brown is a double play ball pitcher. The Tigers don't hit into double plays. They've hit into the fewest in the American League. Watch for it tonight.
Now let's take a look at the starting lineup for the visiting Texas Rangers this evening. Jeff Houston will lead it off and play shortstop tonight. Sweet swinging Rafael Palmeiro at first base batting second. Ruben Sierra having another fine year, bats third in right field. Julio Franco, the second baseman, bats fourth. Juan Gonzalez will be the designated hitter tonight, batting fifth. Kevin Reimer starts in left field. He'll bat sixth. Rookie third baseman Dean Palmer will bat seventh. The catcher, an outstanding rookie, Ivan Rodriguez, hitting .346, hits eighth. And batting ninth, the center fielder, Gary Pettis.
All right, the pitcher for the Detroit Tigers, 28-year-old right-hander Mark Leiter, making his first start of the season. This is his 24th appearance, and because he's been in the bullpen, featuring mainly 2 pitches, a fastball and a slider from Mark Leiter tonight. Doing the catching is Mickey Tettleton, who offensively leads Major League catchers in home runs and RBIs. Hasn't been doing too badly behind the plate either. Cecil Fielder will be at first. What a combination at second and short. Whitaker and Trammell with the youngster Travis Fryman at third base. In the outfield for the Tigers tonight, Mosby, Kyler, and Tony Phillips. You can put Phillips' name anywhere. He'll show up. He'll hit leadoff. Tonight he's in right field.
And he's been hitting leadoff all season long. An outstanding evening. The wind is blowing out here at Tiger Stadium. What wind there is. Blowing out towards center and maybe a little bit toward left at times. And this venerable old ballpark, over which there is a bit of controversy as to whether or not they should build a new one here in Detroit. 340 down the left field line. And remember, there's a 15-foot overhang in the upper deck all the way around, which shortens fly balls at least. 440 is a poke here to center field, and then only 325. And if you want to look at it with the 15-foot overhang on a high fly, only 310 really down the right field line.
Well, I tell you how much it's shortened fly balls. The last 2 ball games that have been played here, the Tigers played the Rangers last night. The day before, they played Kansas City. Over those last 2 games, there's been 15 home runs hit at Tiger Stadium.
And gee, that's somewhat of a non-surprise the way these 2 clubs are going. Durwood Merrill out of Hooks, Texas. Another great athlete out of Hooks, Texas. Billy Sims. McClellan, Dankiner, and McCoy are the umpires. And here's Jeff Houston to lead it off for the Rangers. Hitting just .210 and only .189 over his last 39 games. He has been struggling. One of the few Rangers to be struggling offensively. Because as a team, they've been hitting very well. Leiter with a high fastball for ball 1. Mark Leiter, the older brother of Al Leiter, pitched for the Yankees. There's Bobby Valentine.
A couple of extremely optimistic managers here this evening. Bobby Valentine and Sparky Anderson.
1-1. There's George. So much for the call me George, not Sparky. Never could overcome all those years of Sparky. But Valentine's the kind of guy that ought to have a nickname like Sparky or something like that. A ball and 2 strikes to Houston.
You know, I mentioned briefly about Mark Leiter, the 28-year-old pitcher, and because he's been in the bullpen, when you're in the bullpen, you can get by with a couple of pitches, fastball, slider. He did say he'll throw a couple of different sliders. Down and in occasionally, he'll try to backdoor a slider to a lefty. Just missed with that fastball.
Well, I'll tell you what, that was as close as you can get without getting it. 2-2. Leiter rocked and stopped, so Houston stepped out. Leiter's had
one thing about Houston, Steve, is that he, even though he has struggled, got 3 hits in their ball game last night. One of those a home run, just his second career home run.
Here he looks at strike 3 on a very similar pitch.
And look at Houston. You know why he's frustrated? Because that was the same pitch that he threw before, and it was called a ball. He came right back in the same spot. That time, Durwood Merrill called it a strike. Almost the exact same spot. Houston's up there saying, well, last time it was a ball, and he looks back, and he sees the strike 3 call. Frustrating for a hitter when that happens.
No, hitters want consistency from umpires. If they have different strike zones, and they do have different strike zones.
You know, and so do pitchers.
And pitchers do too, but let's be consistent. Rafael Palmeiro has been very consistent.
Yeah, speaking of consistency.
322 on the year, 13 homers and 42 RBIs. And over the last 68 games, he's hit 330. Strike call.
That was that backdoor slider that Leiter will come on the outside corner.
1-1. Out of play, 1-2. When Palmeiro was a youngster coming up with the Chicago Cubs, everybody who saw him knew that he was going to be a fine hitter. And here he is, 4th in the American League in hitting. Hitting 322, and his teammate Ruben Sierra just 1 point behind him.
Just a pure hitter. Lots of line drives, but even this year he's putting in some long ball. That's 13 home runs. His career high is 14.
Yeah, that's really been about the only knock against him, is that as a first baseman, they would have liked to have seen him generate a little more power. Maybe he's starting to do it. 2-2.
He's hit in different spots in the lineup. Consequently, he scored a lot of runs. He scored 62 runs this year.
Well hit into right center field. Kyler can run, but he can't catch up to this one. It's going to be a double as it bounces over the wall. Palmeiro with a 1-out double here in the first inning.
Well, we've talked about what a pure hitter Rafael Palmeiro is, and this is the deep part of the field. Kyler plays a shallow center field, and even if he had been playing deep, he would have caught up with that. That ball hit well and would have been a triple if not for the fact that it bounced over.
It's out there in center field in this ballpark, and it can roll around a lot, being 440 to straightaway center. So Raffy at second with 1 out for Ruben Sierra, who, as you saw a moment ago, is just hitting 1 point less at 321. 13 homers and 63 RBIs. Sierra has been in a little bit of a slump, however, lately. Takes high, ball 1.
Here's a guy, though, who Bobby Valentine talks about as just a pure gamer. He's in there almost every day. He's averaged 158 games over the last 4 seasons. And he's not 100% tonight.
Bobby told us before the game that he often asks him to take a night or a day off, and Ruben just won't do it. He wants to play. That's going to be out of play, and it's 1-1. As Bobby put it, he has to beg him to take a day off.
Yeah, well, basically what's bothering him tonight is that right leg, a little bit behind the knee. He just came off 4 games playing in Toronto on the AstroTurf up at the Sky Dome. So that right leg a little tender tonight.
And he has a runner in scoring position right now with Palmeiro at second.
Gee, I guess that's why he has 63 RBI.
Yeah. That'll do it. That'll help anyway.
Hey, hot dog! Hot dog!
Sharply hit to second. Whitaker on 1 hop goes to fielder, and on the play, Palmeiro moves to third, now with 2 out. And you heard the fans there in Detroit with what sounded like a boo, but it's Lou. Lou, and they've been saying it for 14 years.
Yeah, and have they said it well? And has he done it well over that
good.
time?
A consummate professional. So here's Julio Franco, who's hitting .313, 9 homers and 42 RBIs, and Franco's also been very consistent, hitting .350 over his last 54 games. You could see the perspiration glistening on the face of Mark Leiter. 85 degrees at game time. And he's dripping already. Remember how Bob Gibson used to perspire walking from the bullpen? Whitaker doesn't even have to leap up to handle that soft line drive, and the inning is over. 1 hit and 1 left in the first for Texas. No score after 1/2 inning. Stadium on an absolutely glorious evening here in Detroit. And as we go to the bottom of the first inning, here's the batting order for the hometown Tigers. Tony Phillips, the hero last night, leads it off in right field. Lou Whitaker, the second baseman, bats second. And his middle infield mate of 14 seasons, Alan Trammell, the shortstop, bats third. Big Cecil Fielder at first base, leading the majors in home runs and RBIs. Mickey Tettleton, the catcher, bats fifth. Pete Incaviglia will be the designated hitter tonight, hitting sixth. Lloyd Mosby will be in left field, batting seventh. Hitting eighth tonight and playing third base, Travis Fryman. And in center field, batting ninth, the speedy Milt Kyler.
Kevin Brown, a 26-year-old, been consistent over the last couple of years. 12 wins each of the last 2 seasons, on his way to do that this year. Kevin Brown with a good hard sinker, a heavy ball, along with that a hard slider. His battery mate, the teenager, 19-year-old Ivan Rodriguez. Around the infield for Texas, good glove. We've talked about his bat, Rafael Palmeiro. Franco Houston and Dean Palmer gets the start at third. In the outfield, Ruben Sierra, much improved in right field this year, along with the gold glove of Pettis and Kevin Reimer.
Tony Phillips, who hit a 3-2 pitch in the 9th inning out of here last night to break a 7-7 tie and give the Tigers an 8-7 win, leading it off. Batting .295, 8 homers and 44 RBIs. Sharply hit up the middle and a base hit into center field.
One thing about Tony Phillips, I don't think Sparky Anderson can say enough about him as his leadoff man. The type of ground balls we'll probably see a lot of if the Detroit Tigers make contact. I mentioned that Kevin Brown is a ground ball type pitcher, gets a lot of double plays, yet the Tigers have hit only into 52 double plays. That's the fewest in the American League.
And why, you say? Well, they are primarily a fly ball, home run, and strikeout team offensively. They've got a lot of guys who are double play candidates, but they just don't hit the ball on the ground that much. Whitaker hitting .265 and a base hit to right field. Palmeiro couldn't flag it down, and Phillips is going to try for third. Sierra's throw not in time.
Good hustle by Tony Phillips, and what an at-bat on the one pitch by Lou Whitaker. He saw that opening on the right side. He went for it. I mentioned that Sierra's an improved outfielder. This is a good throw. Close play at third base. Last year, Sierra had 10 errors, only 7 assists. But a strong slide by Phillips, but give credit to Ruben Sierra. He came up and fired.
If Sierra keeps improving, pretty soon guys will think twice about trying to go from first to third on him.
Well, if he improves in the way his idol played the game, Roberto Clemente, look out.
Yeah, he had a lot of guys stopping at second. Alan Trammell hitting .248 takes a strike. Trammell with 7 homers and 33 RBIs. And Alan just 3 hits away from a milestone. 3 hits to 2,000 for his career. And he's been hot lately. 1-1. First and third with nobody out for the Tigers in the bottom of the first. No score. Two and one.
You talk about a tough combination to steal against. Not that the Tigers are going to steal a lot of bases, but Kevin Brown, real quick move to the plate. He's tough to steal off of, and the other ingredient you put into that is this youngster, 19 years of age, Ivan Rodriguez. His reputation has already started to build.
That's right. Up the middle, base hit, center field, 1-0 Detroit. Whitaker stops at second. 3 straight hits for Detroit and a 1-run lead.
Well, the good news and the bad news for Kevin Brown. Yes, he is a ground ball pitcher. He's gotten 3 ground balls, only but they've gone through the infield. And anytime Alan Trammell steps up, you don't look at his batting average. He's a clutch hitter. He's in a streak right now. We saw the graphic, hitting well. And he's going to come on second half, and sure enough, he'll end up in that 270, 280 mark.
Conference on the mound as Tom House is out, the pitching coach. Let's go to John Saunders in the studio.
The Astros and the Pirates in trouble for Houston early. Gary Reedus at the plate, right back off the forearm of Jim Deshaies. It bounces to Biggio, who's not in time. Deshaies tried to stay in there, but would have to leave with the injury to the left forearm. I think he updated. He seems okay, but left the game. Stephen Thompson.
Thank you, John. Well, here's Cecil, leading the major leagues with 23 home runs and 70 RBIs. And he loops a base hit to right field. Whitaker rounds third. Sierra bobbles the ball. Whitaker stops. Now he's going to try to score, and he does. It's 2-0 Detroit, and just as we were talking about Sierra's improvement, he blows the play.
Boy, a real mix-up, too, by the Rangers. Third base coach Alex Grammas was holding the runner, Lou Whitaker. Whitaker stopped. Then he saw Sierra bobble, and the only reason he took off is because rounding second base was Alan Trammell with his head down. Didn't see Whitaker at third base, so Whitaker took off. Then the throw was cut off by Rafael Palmeiro. A mistake. If he lets it go, they have a chance to get him at the plate.
There's Alex Grammas, longtime associate of Sparky and third base coach, both in Cincinnati and here. And Mickey Tettleton, the hitter. 278, 17 home runs and 51 RBIs, having a good year, but also hot lately.
By the way, the scoring on that, a base hit and an error charge to Ruben Sierra.
No RBI for Fielder on the play. The run scoring on the error. 2-0 Tigers, and still nobody out. 4 consecutive singles by Detroit to open the ball game. And they still have runners at first and third as Tettleton takes inside. Let's go back and look at the play in right by Sierra.
Right now, Sierra's thinking play at the plate. Came in a little too hard. The ball hit him on the heel of the glove. Sometimes you have a tendency, when you know you're going to have a shot at a play, to just take a peek. It doesn't take long, half a second, and that's why that ball hits you on the heel.
Now it's 3-0 to Tettleton. And I think the other thing outfielders have a tendency to do when they know they're going to throw home is they pick up the pace and they run a little harder. They're not as under control because they want that momentum going home to get more on the throw. Trammell at third and Fielder at first. And a strike called, 3-1.
Which brings up a great point, and it was something I wished I had done more of. In infield practice, when you see the outfielders take throws, they come in nice and easy, and they don't come up with the hard fire like they do in a game. If you try to do it in infield practice, the way you're going to do it in a game, you might have better success.
Yep, that's a good point. Foul ball outside first, 3-2. You saw Wayne Rosenthal warming up already in the Texas bullpen. And the bullpens for both these teams have struggled. ERAs out of the bullpen is often not an appropriate stat, but here I think you can get an idea of the fact that the managers would rather not go to the bullpen.
Yeah, that's the last thing that Sparky and Bobby Valentine want to do tonight, is dip into the pen.
Especially in the first inning. 3-2 to Tettleton. And ball 4, the bases are loaded.
And the other thing, Steve, is Kevin Brown, over his last 4 starts, has been extremely consistent. He's gone at least 7 innings over his last 4 starts. So Bobby Valentine, knowing that he doesn't want to go to the bullpen, knowing that he has Kevin Brown out there, certainly didn't want to see this in the first inning.
And now Kevin Brown will look at Pete Incaviglia, the designated hitter, hitting just .216, 7 homers and 23 RBI. And Inky pounds one to short. Houston to first, and on the play, Trammell scores to make it 3-0. An RBI for Incaviglia. And finally, an out recorded in the bottom of the first, 1 away.
It wasn't a tremendous revengeful play, but Pete Incaviglia, not on the greatest of terms with Bobby Valentine, his ex-manager, picks up the RBI.
There's Lloyd Mosby hitting .263. And he takes a stride. You see Mosby with only 2 home runs and only 6 RBIs. Well, he hasn't played much this year. He's been on the DL twice, and he missed another 15-day stint when he wasn't put on the disabled list with just a series of injuries. But he's come back strong the last 3 games.
That's right, those 2 home runs coming in the last 2 games.
High and fairly deep. It may stay in the park for Pedestal, and it does. However, it's deep enough to score Fielder, who will trot home on the sacrifice fly, and it is 4-0 Detroit in the first inning.
Well, you see, that's just smart hitting on Lloyd Mosby's part. He knew Cecil was the runner at third. It wasn't Whitaker. It wasn't Tony Phillips. So he knew he had to get a little extra distance on the fly ball, and that's exactly what he did. Cecil, by the way, now has scored 58 runs. He leads the Tigers. There's a great trivia question. Who leads the Tigers in runs scored?
Yeah, you'd think Phillips, Whitaker, Trammell. No, it's the big guy. Travis Fryman, the young third baseman and the 8th place hitter in the lineup with 2 outs. Tettleton at second.
The only hope that Kevin Brown has, and Bobby Valentine certainly hopes it happens too, is that after he gets his first inning out of the way, he can settle down. And one of the differences in the American League with the DH, a pitcher can settle down, a starting pitcher. Now he can go in 6 or 7 innings.
Fouled off. And the one thing you hear quite often in games such as this in the dugout is a lot of time left. You know, it's only the first inning. Now, this is a ballpark, and the Rangers are certainly capable offensively of overcoming the 4-run lead.
Hey, Sunday, Sparky Anderson saw Kansas City score 18 runs here.
It happened in a hurry in the friendly confines of Tiger Stadium. 1-1 to Fryman. Two and one.
Fryman could fit in with the Texas Rangers lineup. 22 years of age.
Yeah. I think there's only one guy on the Rangers who's 30 years old, or in his 30s. That would have to be Gary Pettit. They're either in their 20s, and then they got 2 guys in the 40s. Inside, the appeal, no, says Tim McClellan, the first base umpire. So it's 3-1. We are in Tiger Stadium for our Tuesday night baseball. Steve Zabriskie and Tommy Hutton with you as usual. Game 2 from the left coast to follow here on ESPN this evening. And we are into the second half. Just got a piece of it. 3-2.
It used to be you'd look at rosters and you'd say you were getting old when you saw guys born in the 50s. You know, then it was the 60s, and now you see Ivan Rodriguez born in 1971.
Hello. Yeah, Ivan, the youngest player in the major leagues, 19 years, 7 months old. Currently the youngest player in either league. The inning is finally over as 8 men bat for the Tigers in the first. They score 4 runs on 4 hits.
Seven consecutive games. Still, they're only 5 games behind the Dodgers. And tonight against Jose De Leon, Chris Sabo, with the bases loaded, was tossed out of the game last night, but tosses this one out to left field. Morris comes in. Larkin follows him, and then Paul O'Neill, a final run to come across. 4 runs in the first inning. They've now moved to the second. 4-0 Reds. Let's get back to Steve and Tommy.
Thanks, John. That coincidentally happens to be our score here.
Is there a connection? Cincinnati, 4 runs. Detroit, 4 runs.
You're traveling into another dimension. Well, baseball has that Twilight Zone ability on occasion. Just when you think you've seen it all and you understand the game, something comes along to smack you right between the eyes. Juan Gonzalez will lead it off, the designated hitter for the Rangers tonight. Hitting .297, 13 homers, 57 RBIs. Another of the kids that Texas is enjoying this year.
Gonzalez just 21 years of age. Normally he's in the outfield, either center field, and sometimes late in the ball game he'll move to left. Tonight he's DHing, a little bit of a sore growing pull. Did that last night coming out of the box.
Tommy, we were talking to Bobby Valentine before the game, and he alluded to the fact that the reason perhaps that Juan pulled that groin muscle was that the area around home plate had been softened a little bit, and he noted how hard it was around home plate tonight since Kevin Brown happened to be a sinker ball pitcher. Isn't it funny how that field can change? Big swing and a miss for strike 3.
Now Mark Leiter is so far showing some good stuff with that fastball and slider. He's able to pick up the strikeout with a good fastball. And here's a guy who 3 years after undergoing 3 different surgeries during a 17-month period, Mark Leiter for 3 years didn't pitch professionally.
Kevin Reimer takes one on the outside corner. And that's out of play, 1-1. Leiter has gotten it up to 94 miles an hour tonight so far. So whatever the doctors did, it must have took. I should say must have taken. That's baseball talk. Must have took.
True baseball fan will accept that.
That's right. Got jammed and rolls a slow roller to Cecil Fielder. 2 out in the second. Let's go back to the studio for another update from John.
Dodgers and the Phillies in the second. Alfredo Griffin at the plate, slices it out to right field. Dale Murphy's there waiting for it. Gary Carter trying to score from second. Darren Dalton is waiting when he gets there, and he's gone. So they remain scoreless in the second as the Dodgers try and end that losing streak. Back to Steve and Tommy.
Thank you, John. Nice to see Gary Carter getting a chance to play regularly. He's been doing a lot of catching for the Dodgers. 2 out and nobody on for rookie Dean Palmer, who's hitting an even .200. Only 6 hits in his last 43 at-bats, however.
Well, he had a tough assignment. Came to the big leagues and had to learn a new position, playing left field, but tonight he's at third base.
1 ball, 1
You
strike.
say, where's Steve Buechele? Well, Buechele just getting the night off. Tigers and Rangers play a day game tomorrow.
Out of play. I asked Steve whether he'd rather have tonight off or tomorrow off, and he said he'd rather have tonight off. And you'd think that getting into the dog days, that a guy would welcome a day game with the heat and humidity and everything as a day of rest. But he likes to play day games, so he's glad to have the night off.
Well, you also took a peek and saw where the lefty Frank Tanana is going tomorrow.
But he wasn't going to say that. 2-2 to Palmer.
They really do like the swing of Dean Palmer. Hit 22 home runs at Oklahoma City before being called up. And then just went through one of those slump periods, the way Bobby Valentine described it to us.
And that's going to happen, I mean, especially with a young player.
You know, it's going to happen to any player, let alone when you're young, coming to the big leagues, learning a new position. You put all those things together, it has a better chance of happening.
Well, there's certain guys you look at and you just discount the batting average and you say, this guy has an idea, knows what to do up there, and he should hit. Chased a bad one there. Third strikeout in 2 innings for Mark Leiter. A big first inning has the Tigers in front of the Rangers 4-0 as we go to the bottom half of inning number 2. And we will zoom in on the unusual bullpen seating arrangement here at Tiger Stadium.
I'll tell you what, if you're in the bullpen and you come to Tiger Stadium, of course, these guys, the Tigers, have to be out there for 81 games. It's not a very good seat, the worst seat in the house. If you're about 5'4", you can stand up. And then the visiting teams that come in have to put up with the bullpen down on the other side. So it's not a fun spot. Not a lot of breeze down there on a hot, humid evening the way we have this evening.
Even Bob Uecker gets better seats than that. You know, I think this place was built for midgets because the dugouts are small, and I cannot stand up in the tunnels between the dugout and the clubhouse. I cannot. I have to walk stooped over, and I'm not the tallest guy around here. I mean, I'm over 6 feet, but I mean, it's amazing to me. Beta Pinson told me when he first came here, he's the hitting instructor for the Tigers, he said he couldn't believe it. He said, you know, who plays in this park?
How about Hondo?
Oh, when Hondo comes here with the Yankees, he's got to get on his knees to go to the clubhouse. There's Beta just peeking around there with the glasses. Boy, what a player he was. Milt Kyler, the number 9 hitter. There he is, number 28.
Say, a guy who never got a lot of Hall of Fame consideration.
No, and should have.
But he sure has some Hall of Fame numbers.
Yep. What a player. Do it all. Kyler hitting .243, 3 homers and 17 RBIs. Now looking at an 0-2 count.
Kyler getting a little bit of a chance to play. Rob Deere not in the lineup. He's in an 0 for 17. Completely different type hitters. Deere, the long ball strikeout. Kyler with good speed. He gives the Tigers a little different look, something that they like to have in that lineup occasionally.
He's also a base stealing threat. He's stolen 20 in 25 attempts, and that's the most steals by a rookie for the Tigers since Ron LaFleur's rookie year. And Ron LaFleur could do some serious motoring. On the ground to first. A little room service there for Palmeiro. 1 away in the second. There's George Sparky, or Sparky George.
Well, I'll tell you what, 19 more wins, and he'll get those this year. He'll have 1,900. Those victories, active managers, he'll close in on that 1,900. And then with 1,901, he'll go by Gene Mauch, who's number 8 on the all-time list.
Kind of impressive that Tony La Russa is number 3 among active guys and has not been managing near as long as Sparky, for example. Tony Phillips singled and scored, and this time bounces one right back to Kevin Brown. An easy second out here in the second.
By the way, this is a very important inning for Kevin Brown. We mentioned it in the first. After giving up the 4 runs, if he's able to come back, especially have a 1-2-3 inning, so far he's gotten a couple of ground balls, his forte, the ground ball. If he can do that here in the second, it'll pump him up a little bit, and it'll get his offense online.
He's having an easy second inning so far, and it's a good thing because he faced 8 batters. He's thrown 30 pitches already in an inning and 2/3, and he gets a strike on Whitaker.
The other thing that has to worry the Rangers a little bit over the last 2 years, I mentioned a 12-game winner, he's tailed off the second half of the season.
Well, he has 7 wins now, but he also has 7 losses. 1-1. 2-1. Whitaker, in almost 300 plate appearances, has only struck out 24 times this year.
What's he doing in this lineup?
This ball should be caught. Gary Pettis doesn't miss many. It's a 1-2-3 inning in the second for Kevin Brown. Just what the doctor ordered. Still 4-0 Detroit.
For the San Francisco Giants, they've won 3 consecutive games, including beating New York last night. And here, Trevor Wilson helps his own cause. Hubie Brooks chops this one off in front of the plate. Nice play over the shoulder by Wilson, then guns him down at first to Will Clark. It's scoreless. Play is out in the second inning. Doc Gooden against Trevor Wilson. Doc looking for his 9th. Back to Steve and Tommy.
Thank you, John. We're going to the third inning here in Detroit, and it'll be the bottom of the order for the Texas Rangers, who trail by 4. Mark Leiter has allowed 1 hit, a double to Rafael Palmeiro in the first inning, and he has struck out 3 in the first 2 innings. There's Steve Buechele, the back of number 22. He has the night off. And after our doubleheader and a little period of time, tomorrow night at 8:30 Eastern Time, it'll be the Battle of the Sox from Chicago. Roger Clemens on the mound, and the Red Sox going up against the White Sox in New Comiskey. Big Frank Thomas swinging the bat.
Well, what a matchup. Clemens and Thomas. Just those two. I think I'd pay to see that matchup 4 times during a game.
And if you have ESPN, you don't even have to.
You don't even have to.
Amazing.
Well, a little cable fee here, maybe. Not too much.
Basic cable. Ivan Rodriguez. And they've nicknamed him Pudge already.
Yeah, but that goes back a long way.
Yeah.
He and Juan Gonzalez were Little League teammates back in Puerto Rico, and it was Juan Gonzalez who tagged him Pudge back then. So he was Pudge when he was 10, 11 years old, and he's still Pudge.
Drives one deep to right. Tony Phillips back, and just short of the track, makes the catch. 1 away.
And he quickly learns that it's not too far to right field at Tiger Stadium.
Go the other way sometimes. Not a bad idea.
Tony Phillips, who has started at 7 different positions, really feels comfortable just about anywhere. If you asked him, I guess he'd say second base would be the position he'd like to play every day, but he's a leadoff man. He is not, and I preface not, a utility player.
No, that's right, just because he plays different positions. Gary Pettis with a swing and a miss. Pettis hitting just .213. No homers, 11 RBIs. 15 stolen bases, and in spite of his shortcomings offensively, still one of the best at going and getting them out there in the outfield. 1-1.
Well, one of the things that's always plagued Pettis is for a hitter who's not a power hitter, too many strikeouts.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing this year. 51 strikeouts and just 160 at-bats.
In fact, Gary Pettis has struck out 16 times in just the last 14 games. And for a guy with no power and the speed that he possesses, which means he needs to get on first base by walking or some other means, it's just not acceptable. Foul back, and it's 2-2.
But as you mentioned, those 5 full gloves have kept him around.
Yep. One of the best out there.
And he appears in a lot of games. When the Rangers get a lead late in the ball game, if he's not starting, they don't hesitate at all to get him in center field and move Gonzalez over to left.
Like most hitters, Pettis borders on being out of the back line of the batter's box. A little bit high, 3-2.
There are a couple of umpires. Ken Kaiser comes to mind. He's not here this evening. That'll, before the game starts, just go back and erase the back line because they know hitters are going to try to get right on the edge.
And some hitters get in there, and you can see that both back lines are almost obliterated already. They'll do it themselves. And so here we are, third inning, and they're almost gone anyway. Problem with moving the line back and making the batter's box deeper is that they do the same thing. If it was 6 inches farther back,
Yeah.
they'd still put their foot on the line, obliterate it, try to sneak as far back.
Hey, when you have
wanna
a guy throwing 90
That's
miles an
right.
hour, you want to get as far away as you can.
And I'm telling you, every 10th or greater dimension of a second makes a big difference. Mosby's got a chance, and he gets there. Good play by Lloyd Mosby, hustling deep into the corner for out number 2. Let's get an update again from John Saunders.
Astros and the Pirates. Bell at the plate, knocks it to third. Watch Ken Caminiti try and sweep and get Reedus. Misses him, and then that throws him off because he throws the ball away. Reedus comes in to score. The Pirates on the board and still streaking. 1-0 is the lead in the second. Let's get back to Steve and Tommy.
I'll tell you what, those Pirates, they are tough. The Mets have played well. The Expos have played well. Neither has been able to make a dent. In fact, the Pirates have even been able to increase their lead lately after it was cut to 2.5. Jeff Houston, the leadoff hitter, with 2 out and nobody on, looked at a called third strike in the first inning.
By the way, nice to see Jim Leland back and nothing serious with his short stay in the hospital just one night.
This demonstrates how managing can be so hard on you, even when you're leading. I mean, there's a guy who's in first place. It's enough to eat you up. Strike call, 0-2. But Leland will be the first to admit that he is, I guess what you'd have to term a type A personality. He's harder on himself than anybody else.
He admits he doesn't eat properly, probably smokes too much, doesn't get the proper sleep, and you put all those together and then manage a first place team.
Stomach churning all the time. One ball, 2 strikes. And Houston just punching it out of play, hanging in there.
And a good comparison in watching Houston and then seeing the batter before, Gary Pettis, with the looping swing, the long fly ball. At least Houston trying to hit within his capabilities, just trying to punch the ball, especially with 2 strikes. He's not trying to loft the fly ball.
Time called. You know, Harry Walker would have been a good hitting instructor for Gary Pettis.
Yeah, it would have. I also think, remember years ago when Ozzie Smith first went to St. Louis, he had a little deal going with Whitey Herzog, ground balls.
Right.
Whitey gave him $1 or anything in the air, he owed Whitey $1. And it was a little mental thing that kept him hitting the ball in the ground, and Ozzie Smith became a 300 hitter.
Absolutely. And now hits line drives. Pettis certainly has the capability. It's just that his approach is not correct. And Harry Walker, one of the big proponents of hitting down on the ball, has worked with a lot of players over the years. Houston hits one in the air. A long run for Kyler. He gets there. The speed of Milt Kyler ends the 3rd inning. Still 4-0 Detroit. Let's go back and take a look at the catch by Milt Kyler that ended the 3rd inning.
Well, one of the reasons that Kyler's in the lineup, certainly because of the way he can roam center field. We mentioned the fact he plays a deep center field, was back on that ball, but then got a good jump. Houston just trying to drop it in, and Milt Kyler and Gary Pettis, a couple of speedsters out there tonight.
So we go to the bottom of the 3rd, and Alan Trammell, the hitter, with the Tigers leading 4-0, scoring all 4 in the 1st. And Trammell takes the strike and wishes he'd swung. Trammell, like the other 3 hitters in the top 4 of the order, singled and scored in the 1st inning. Fouls it off his foot. 0-2.
Dave, think about Trammell right now, and he had a smile in the clubhouse, is the fact that he feels healthy, and that's one of the reasons. You look back on May 8th, he was hitting over 300. He's had an assortment of injuries, back problems, elbow problems. He had a sore left knee, sore wrist. Right now, a little break, the All-Star 3 days gave him a chance to heal, and he feels 100%. And that's good for the Tigers.
Here's another guy that you have to practically shoot to get out of the lineup. Sharply hit into the hole. Good play by Houston, and he got him. Trammell pulls up lame, and he has hurt himself apparently severely this time. Now, it is possible that this is a cramp and not a pulled hamstring or something more serious.
Yeah, the
but
way
he's in a lot of pain.
He's tender as if it's a knee or an ankle, the way he's trying to get around. And look at that expression. I just finished saying how he's been bothered, how he's healthy, and trying to beat out that infield ground ball, the deep short. The last thing Sparky wanted to do is go out and look at his all-star shortstop.
Dick Trzaskowski, the first base coach, the first one to get there, and then, of course, the trainer, and now Sparky. And apparently it is an ankle from what they're looking at, the right ankle of Alan Trammell.
Every once in a while, we talk about a runner when he tries to beat out a close play, if he takes that leap at the bag. Let's see if Alan Trammell, as he goes up the line, now he's all in stride. It's either when he stepped on the bag or I believe on the next step the right foot takes beyond the bag. It's hard to tell, but he kind of stepped on the bag in the front part.
Could have jammed it.
But also watch the next step that the right foot takes.
Sometimes you come down on that heel first and just jam that ankle.
You watch the heel, the right foot. Now watch when he steps the right foot coming down right here. It's twisted inside. But I think he was already hurt at that time. That's why it came down that way.
Yeah, I think he jammed it into the bag right there. You see him heel first. And you can see his expression.
He's already wincing before he takes that next step down.
He's been hurting. He may have felt something as he left the box even. But they brought out an electric cart to remove him from the field as Alan Trammell is unable to walk. And while they cart him off, let's go back to the studio and John Saunders.
Twins in the Brewers. Hamilton at the plate, laying down the bunt against Tapani, and then beating it down the first baseline. Getting there before Tapani can. He is safe. But the real action took place at second. Watch Paul Molitor take out Greg Gagne as he heads in there. He's safe as well. Playing a little football down on the second bag. He would later score 1-0 Milwaukee with the lead. Let's get back to Detroit.
Thanks, John. A little hard ball being played there, and here a hard break for Alan Trammell, who didn't need another injury or a re-aggravation or any other problem.
You know, a guy who's such a complete ball player. I saw an interview of Dick Allen, a good major league player. He was talking about Alan Trammell being one of the players, among others, that he mentioned that he would pay to see now play baseball here in the 90s because he is a complete player. He can field, he can hit for an average, he drives in runs, he steals bases. And that's just a tough blow for the Tigers, who have gotten themselves over 500 now and battling for second place with some other teams in the AL East.
Tough to lose anybody, but in particular, a guy who is a true leader on this ball club. And of course, it remains to be seen the severity of the injury or how long he will be out. If we can get a report before the end of the game, we'll certainly pass it along.
And also a couple of guys, when you think of Trammell, we've talked about it. You just mentioned in the same breath Lou Whitaker, who worked so well together up the middle. They can almost blindfolded turn a double play. They've worked so long together, 14 years.
So here's Cecil Fielder with one out and nobody on. Fielder singled and scored in the first. And that's high for a ball.
Keep in mind a long wait for Kevin Brown. He's the type of pitcher who actually throws better when he's a little tired. He gets good movement on that sinker.
I think that's really the case with most sinker ball pitchers. When they're too strong, they have that ball get up, and the sinker that doesn't sink usually gets turned around in a hurry. And he's pitching to a guy right here who can turn it around. High again, 2-1.
Well, it's one of those touchy areas. Here you have Kevin Brown with Fielder, the hitter, and no question Fielder with all that power leads the league in home runs. But Brown
Fair ball just inside the line, maybe even caught part of the line. And Cecil, who does not run well, held to a single. And a good hustling play by Kevin Reimer. And Fielder now 2 for 2.
You don't expect a lot of two-base hits from Cecil, but as an outfielder, you need to get over in a hurry, cut that ball off before it gets into the corner. No chance for Dean Palmer. He's a little tentative right now, playing third base. He's been in the outfield since his recall, but Reimer got it in quickly to hold Cecil to that single. The point I was going to make about Brown, here's a guy who probably would pitch better in a four-man rotation every fourth day, but he has had elbow problems. He had elbow problems last year, the second half of the season, so then you tend to lay him back a little.
One out and one on for Tettleton, who walked in the first. Mickey has already surpassed his home run and RBI total of all of last season.
Was he great when we were talking around the batting cage?
A typical hitter statement. We'll tell you about it in a minute. Just outside.
Yeah, you try to gather information, and we were asking him this year compared to last year, any changes, why? He just shook his head. He said, I don't know. He said, everything just looks good. I swing. I've been hitting it hard.
It's this one hard, but right there is Franco, who gets one, and they get two. Good double play turned by the Rangers to end the third inning. One hit, but nobody left. Still a 4-run Detroit lead.
ESPN Major League Baseball is brought to you by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. By Nike, who reminds you to just do it. And by Residence Inn. People who travel for a living live here.
The injury to Alan Trammell's right ankle has prompted a number of changes defensively now. As we go to the fourth inning, Rob Deere into the game in right field. Tony Phillips had been playing right field, and Tony Phillips moves to third base. Travis Fryman had been playing third base, and he moves to shortstop, where Alan Trammell, of course, was playing. So Rob Deere will bat in Alan Trammell's spot in the batting order, which is third.
Well, Travis Fryman, the youngster that they feel will someday be their everyday shortstop, that's his original position. Hard to get Alan Trammell out of there, so that's why they put him over at third base, but he is a good shortstop. And the thing about Tony Phillips, you have him on your ball club, you can make all kinds of moves. And you can put Tony anywhere and then work around that.
And he will not be a liability no matter where it is. Rafael Palmeiro has the only hit for the Rangers so far, a double in the first inning. He was stranded at third, and since then, Mark Leiter has retired 8 in a row. Palmeiro with a high, deep drive, hooking foul. It hit the facade above the upper deck, but foul.
Wow, that's where it hit, just to the right of the foul pole on that facade of the press box that goes around the right field line. Of course, Tettleton hit 2 in a week over the roof. 2 in 1 week he hit over the roof.
Remember the Reggie Jackson home run that hit the light standard here? I think it was
the All-Star game.
The All-Star game.
Johnny Bench hit one. That was one of those All-Star games that had a ton of home runs.
Yeah. There haven't been many of those lately. Just a long strike for Palmeiro, 0-1.
Hey, I think Roberto Clemente hit one that day, too.
1971, Roberto's last All-Star game. Oh, baby! Almost a great play by Fryman, who actually overran the ball. It is a foul ball, even though Palmeiro is at second. Fryman tried to reach back as he was sliding, had it, and dropped it.
Well, talk about difficult play, too, for a guy who's played mostly at third base. This is a different angle and he's had to come a long way, gets the glove on it, and it really doesn't pop out until he pounds the glove on the ground.
Why'd you talk about staying with it? He was staying with it, but he just couldn't hold on. Look at the reaction of Mosby and Phillips.
They're saying, I'm glad you went for that one.
Now, how about Palmeiro? He has 2 strikes on him. He's bounced one off the upper deck facade, and the other one was an unbelievable play the other way down the left field line.
Getting bonus points right here.
I guess so. But it's 0-2. Hello. 1-2.
We got bonus points and a wake-up call.
That's right. Yeah, I heard that phone. Popped up foul out of play.
Say one of the reasons Sparky Anderson decided to start Mark Leiter in this ball game, in his 23 games out of the bullpen, the opposition has hit just .213 against him. Now, the Tigers starting staff, the opposition has hit .300. So he wanted to get Mark Leiter and that live fastball and slider in there.
How long he can go remains to be seen. It is his first start of the year. Palmeiro with a fly ball to left, fairly deep. Mosby back, makes the catch for out number 1. An unusual at bat, and now we'll go to an unusual guy, John Saunders.
I hope that's a compliment. Budweiser takes us now to Philadelphia. Bob Ojeda facing Wes Chamberlain with a runner aboard. Just ropes this ball to left field. 2-run home run. Philadelphia with the lead. But Gary Carter, who's rejuvenated, has just doubled home Eddie Murray. It's 2-1 in the 4th. Back to Steve and Tommy.
What Steve meant was an unusual, credible broadcaster, of course.
He's a unique person, John Saunders. He's one of the all-time greats. One of the best. Only a compliment, John. 1 out, nobody on for Ruben Sierra. He grounded to second in the first inning. Grounded was not really the term. He nearly knocked over Whitaker with a sharp one-hopper. And the Rangers, they've got the hitters. The Twins just 2 points behind them as team batting leaders in the American League. The Tigers are dead last in batting average in the American League.
Hey, one of the things the Rangers have done over the last few years, Ruben Sierra, Ivan Rodriguez, Juan Gonzalez, all signed very young. Sierra was 17. He's in his 6th year, and he's only 25. Gonzalez and Rodriguez signed when they were 16 years old out of Puerto Rico.
Ground ball to first. Big Cecil says, I got it, I'll take it, and he does. 2 away.
A lot of that credit goes to a former scout, Luis Rosa, who is from Puerto Rico. He's now the Cubs Latin American coordinator. But they got the talent. They got those young players, and they've been able to develop. And you only have to think, after seeing Gonzalez and Rodriguez, that their careers will just follow what Ruben Sierra has done.
The Rangers really have a bright future with the youth that they have established.
The only thing that changed that, as of 1990, the amateur draft now includes Puerto Rico. It's not free game anymore.
Yeah, that's
that
true.
changes things a little bit.
And it's changed the way they scout and sign down there. And you don't see as many guys quite as young either, although you can still sign players down there earlier than you can here in the States.
Toronto Blue Jays do well. Latin America, Los Angeles Dodgers have had a lot of success.
Look out. Boy, I'll tell you what, that gentleman right there, wow, went down just in time. The fellow in the blue striped shirt who's standing up, whose life just passed before his eyes, barely got out of the way of that bat, and
he may have a little
the back of the seat.
He may have a little refreshment on him, but he's lucky, that's all. You try to get out of the way of a baseball, it's one thing, but a bat with the helicopter motion coming at you.
It's amazing the bat didn't hit anyone. I'll tell you what, I say this almost every game. You come to the ballpark and you sit anywhere near the dugouts or home plate, you had best watch every single pitch of that ball game.
By the way, this is a nice gesture because Julio wants his gamer back. He wants the one that he's doctored with some pine tar, so he went over and exchanged his gamer and gave the fan who ended up with the bat brand new bat.
I think the guy that almost got hit ought to get the bat.
They had to give the guy in the blue shirt and the gentleman in the green striped shirt, they ought to get something out of that, too.
That's right. Boy, I'll tell you what. They're all still shaking their heads over there. That was very
the way
fortunate.
this evening is going, don't be surprised to see one whiz back here, a ball.
Oh, this is great. We're in great foul ball territory right here. Hanging right behind home plate. They can come in here in a hurry. There is our ESPN booth. And we have got a great view. Except on foul balls, we don't want that good a view. Whitaker to fielder. The inning is over. Unusual inning, but an easy 1-2-3 inning. 11 in a row retired by Leiter, who leads by 4. Bottom of inning number 4 here in Motown tonight. A 4-0 Tiger lead as they scored all 4 in the first. Pete Incaviglia, the DH for Detroit this evening, leading it off. He drove in a run in the first inning with a ground ball to short.
By the way, both pitchers, Mark Leiter has been settled in the entire game after the first inning. We talked about it with Kevin Brown. Had that 1-2-3 second. Got the double play in the third. A play, as we mentioned, the Tigers don't hit into very many. Only 52 all year.
The least amount in the American League of any team. You talk about a couple of efficient innings. You saw the number of pitches Kevin Brown threw in the first inning, and look at the second and third. Pounded down hard. The third baseman, Dean Palmer, throws him out. One away in the fourth. We have a report that Alan Trammell has been taken to the hospital for x-rays, and we'll keep you updated. Let's update you with John Saunders.
Budweiser takes us now to New York. The Giants and the Mets. Dwight Gooden showing bunt. Will Clark is in. He slaps it past him. Down into the corner. Winds up with a double. Charlie O'Brien hustles around to third. Jeffries would later score both on a single. McReynolds has driven in a run, and Howard Johnson as well. It's 4-0 in the third. Back to you.
Thank you, John. 4-0 here. 4-0 seems to be the operative score around baseball so far tonight. Here's Lloyd Mosby, who drove in a run with a sacrifice fly into left center field. In the first inning, he grounds it foul. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Say one of the other pitchers that the Rangers want to get back in the rotation, Bobby Witt. Had some rotator problems. He has thrown batting practice a couple of times. They need him back in there.
Kevin Brown barehands the bunt attempt by Mosby and throws him out. 2 away.
All Mosby's trying to do is get that bunt up the third base line. Just get it out of the reach of the pitcher. But he didn't quite get it up the line far enough. Brown, with some good reactions, able to get over there and make the play. So when you're bunting for that base hit, you're trying to go up the third base line. One of the rules of thumb, either get it just off the line or foul. If you miss with it, make sure it's foul.
Travis Fryman, the hitter. The 2 out, nobody on. Ball 1.
Believe it or not, learned that years ago in the minor leagues from Bob Kennedy. Our manager at the time, who's now an executive with the San Francisco Giants, used to take some of the young players out, work on our bunting.
Instead of no harm, no foul, it's no harm if it is foul. Bobby's a gum worker, and he goes through bubble gum during a game like crazy.
We have a gum chewing contest between Bobby Valentine and Jimmy LaFever.
Ah, there you go. I'll tell you a guy who used, I don't know if he still does it, but the Rangers pitching coach, Tom House, used to be one of the great bubble blowers of all time. And I don't know if Tommy still chews it with a vengeance, but man, we talked about Jim Leland's churning boiler and the problems of managing. You got to have something. You got to chew gum, some way to relieve the tension. Better that than that awful junk tobacco. A 1-2-3 inning once again for Kevin Brown. Still a 4-run Tiger lead. Coming up next, second half of our ESPN Tuesday night doubleheader this evening. Two guys that are really having great years. Cal Ripken leading the American League in hitting, and David Winfield at an advanced baseball age having a fine season. And Mark Langston will go for his 13th win of the year tonight as well. Steve Physiok and Jerry Roy standing by to bring it to you from the Big A in Anaheim as soon as we're through here on a lovely evening in Motown.
Well, I understand the Hotel California moved to France. It took Chris Berman to go out of the country to have someone fill in for him just this week.
The Hotel French for the Boomer this week. I wonder if Boomer speaks French. He's like me, he's still working on English. Juan Gonzalez leads off the 5th inning for Texas. Struck out swinging, leading off the 2nd. Detroit leading 4-0. And a strike.
You know, it's really been fun watching Mark Leiter tonight. Here's a guy who originally signed with the Orioles, 4th-round pick back in '83, and then had all the arm problems, shoulder problems that we told you about, 3 surgeries. And during that time, was watching the development of his younger brother, Al Leiter, top pick of the Yankees. Al then traded to Toronto, and now Al is going through a tough time, and they've talked about that. Al trying to feed off Mark as to how he handled the situation when he was down and out. Mark trying to give him some advice. Right now, brother Al is on a rehabilitation assignment down in the Florida State League in Dunedin with the Blue Jays. And here's Mark, who at one time was doing that, watching Al pitch.
And Mark getting his first start. I wonder if brother Al is watching this evening.
Well, if he is, he can be proud. Mark is dealing tonight.
Only 1 hit, 3 strikeouts, no walks through the first 4. And he has a 2-2 count to Gonzalez leading off the 5th. Foul back. Gonzalez, Reimer, and Palmer here in the 5th inning for Texas.
You know, not only dealing, but dealing against a club who, as we showed you at the top of the show, leads the league in hitting. Over 270 team batting average for the Rangers.
One thing Leiter has been doing well is changing speed. He's been up over 90, and he's been under 80 with a 78-mile-an-hour off-speed pitch.
That's right. I mentioned the fastball, a couple of different types of sliders, but he has mixed in a few good changeups, a third pitch that he needs if he's going to be in the starting rotation.
Popped up. Not a lot of room here, but Tettleton may have a play. He does, and he stays with it for out number 1. Back to the uniqueness of John Saunders.
Thank you very much. Budweiser takes you to Atlanta. The Cubs and the Braves. Steve Avery on the mound. Ryan Sandberg lifts this to left field. Lonnie Smith is back. He leaps, but can't get it. Gone for his 14th home run of the year. He also has 50 runs batted in now. That's the first hit for the Cubs. They have 3 runs. Uniquely. Back to Steve and Tommy.
How does it feel to be a unique talent such as yourself? 4-0. Still our score. In the top of the 5th, all the runs scored by Detroit in the 1st inning. And here's Kevin Reimer, who grounded to first in the 2nd inning. 0 for 1. 1 out, nobody on. Broken bat looper. Fryman going back, and he can't get it. Kyler can't get it. And as you mentioned, Tommy, Kyler playing a fairly deep center field. It's a base hit, and I don't know any hitter, especially when struggling as Reimer is, that wouldn't trade a bat for a hit.
Well, also here at Tiger Stadium, one of the few stadiums when you hear a broken bat, you can tell. That bat shattered, and when you're in the outfield and a hitter that has a little power, Kevin Reimer does, as soon as you see the big swing, your natural tendency is to take a little step back. The ball was able to drop.
Dean Palmer, the hitter. And he takes a strike. Palmer struck out swinging to end the second inning. Reimer's broken bat looper, only the second hit for Texas. Out of play. Strike 2.
Well, Dean Palmer playing third base tonight. Since his call up, he'd been in left field, and just prior to the game, the Rangers made an announcement that they had signed to a AAA contract veteran third baseman Jim Presley.
Presley, when he went to Atlanta a few years ago, looked upon as a big move in his career, but some physical problems really cut that short. It would be great if he could make it back. Oh, 2 to Palmer. Another foul back out of play.
The thing that the Rangers really like about Palmer is the way he's able, with quickness, to get the bat through the hitting zone. And that's such a key in hitting, because the longer you can wait and then have that quickness, the better hitter you're going to be. He's had a little trouble. He got hit on the forearm up in the bicep area, I think. That's bothered him a little bit lately.
Well, while they talk it over on the mound, let's go back to John for yet another update on what else has happened.
Cards in the Reds. It was 4-0 at one point for Cincinnati, but Geronimo Pena here just past the Larkin. Felix Jose comes in to score and ties the game at 4 apiece. Since then, Chris Hammond, the pitcher for Cincinnati, doubled and then later scored on a sacrifice fly. Now 5-4 in the fourth. Back to Steve and Tommy.
Thank you, sir. Well, they've talked it over and decided what they're going to do. And it's another 0-2 pitch to Palmer. And he goes down for the second consecutive at-bat. Fourth strikeout for Mark Leiter, and 2 out here in the fifth. We are in Tiger Stadium in Detroit on Tuesday Night Baseball. Steve Zabriskie and Tommy Hutton on Game 1 of our ESPN doubleheader. All the scoring came in the first. The Tigers' first 4 hitters singled. And then with the aid of a ground out that drove in a run and a sacrifice fly, scored 4. Ivan Rodriguez flied to deep right field in the third. And he takes the ball.
I think the thing that surprised Texas about Rodriguez is his hitting ability so far. He's been able to keep his average over 300. They knew he could catch. They were not worried about that at all, but he swung the bat well for him.
Pops this one up into short right field. Whitaker backpedaling and squeezing. One away, or third out rather. 1 hit, I meant to say. 1 left in the fifth. Still a 4-run Tiger lead. Still 4-0 Tigers as we go to the bottom of the fifth inning. And reminder that you will see baseball immortals immortalized during the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies coming up Sunday, July 21st. 5:30 Eastern Time is the start. Rod Carew, Gaylord Perry, Fergie Jenkins, Tony Lazzari, and the great late Bill Veeck, all inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. Joe Garagiola is going to also be inducted into the broadcast wing.
Boy, sure had fun with a few of those guys up in Toronto, the upper deck heroes of the game.
I'll tell you what, Gaylord's a kick, isn't he? Perry makes all those things. He got that uniform with 82 different insignias on it. All the different teams he played for. Sharply hit by Kyler, but Julio Franco throws out Milt for out number 1 here in the fifth inning.
Julio Franco, Ryan Sandberg, Juan Samuel, all at one time were in the minor leagues with the Philadelphia Phillies.
And none of them are there anymore.
And they're all stars.
Yeah, well, there are a couple of organizations, or more than a couple, really, I guess you could point to and look at players that were traded away or left for other purposes that have gone on to be successful. Now, here goes the bat the other way. As Tony Phillips lets go on a foul ball, and this one
But you can clearly see that Tony Phillips doesn't have as much power as Julio Franco. The ball didn't get as far.
You mean the bat?
There's also a style, that's a great shot, you wouldn't teach a youngster. A lot of youngsters get a lot of bat movement. Now, Tony Phillips is able to get away with that. A lot of movement with a hit, but getting it up to the hitting zone and getting it ready when the pitch is there. If you're teaching, you wouldn't want a hitter to do that.
No. Branch Rickey used to say, I always look for a guy with a quiet bat.
You know, that's what's amazing, especially in this game tonight. We're seeing Ruben Sierra with the high leg kick. We're seeing Julio Franco who points the bat out towards center field. And here's Tony Phillips with the dip, but he gets it back in that zone quick.
Fouls off another one. 1 and 2.
But as you mentioned, the quiet bat. Watch how he takes it down, and then back to the hitting area.
And there aren't many guys that can do that successfully.
No, there aren't. You're taught to use a short take back and get it ready quickly.
On the ground to second again. Franco again to Palmeiro. And we'll go back to John Saunders.
You want to get a good look at Charlie Huff's knuckleball as the Red Sox face the White Sox. You won't get a much better look at it than this. In slow motion, watch the seams. And that's about all Mo Vaughn could do, is take a look at it as well as he whips. This game is scoreless in the 5th. Back to Stephen Thomas.
I tell you, Charlie's amazing, isn't he?
I saw that knuckleball closer than that at times.
And here he is still doing it. Tomorrow night from Chicago on Wednesday Night Baseball. Red Sox and White Sox.
I'll tell you what, I was with Charlie Huff in the instructional league in the Dodgers organization when he was told to learn that pitch. He was a sinker ball slider pitcher with no place to go. And he was taught the knuckleball by Goldie Holt, an old Dodger coach and scout at the time.
And here he is.
Still going strong.
In his 40s, getting guys out with it still. Lou Whitaker tonight, 1 for 2. He singled and scored in the first and flied to center in the second.
It's a knuckleball kind of night. Tom Candiotti's pitching in Kansas City for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, when you and I hear it's a knucklehead kind of night. 2 and 2. There won't be too many knuckleballs in Comiskey tomorrow night with Roger Clemens and Greg Hibbert squaring off. Slow roller to short. Houston, who's made a couple of good plays tonight, gets Whitaker to end the 5th inning. And again, Detroit goes in order. But they still have a 4-run lead. Boys and ballparks certainly go together. And that guy's taking it all in, isn't he? 4-0 Detroit as we go to the top half of inning number 6. Gary Pettis, the 9th place hitter for the Rangers, 0 for 1. He flied out in foul territory. A nice running catch by Lloyd Mosby back in the 3rd inning. Squares but takes high ball 1.
Good idea by Gary Pettis. It kind of goes along with what we were talking about before when he was hitting. Sometimes too many fly balls, more ground balls, more bunt attempts. Gary Pettis would be a better hitter.
Mark Leiter's only allowed 2 hits in between the double by Palmeiro in the 1st and the single in the 5th by Kevin Reimer. He retired 12 in a row. A strike right in there. 2 and 1.
When you think about it, it's been a long time between starts. Mark's last start was last October when he was pitching for the Yankees, and it was against the Tigers.
And a strike on the outside corner. It's 2 and 2 to Pettis. Jeff Houston and Rafael Palmeiro to follow. And as the Rangers trail the Tigers by 4. Fouled off. Still 2 and 2. These two teams play a day game here tomorrow.
You know, I'm watching Pettis, and I'm thinking of another hitter who made himself a good major league hitter, over 2,000 hits, Larry Boa.
It's really true.
When he came up as a left-handed hitter, Boa switch hitter, as is Pettis. But as a left-handed hitter, Boa almost had the bat knocked out of his hand when he first came up.
Couldn't get the ball out of the infield.
A lot of hard work, a lot of ground balls, bunts.
Now here's a guy as Pettis walks to lead off the 6th inning. Larry Boa cut twice from his high school baseball team. Had to go to junior college to get noticed and signed, and wound up playing more games at shortstop than anybody in the history of the National League. Shows you what perseverance and hard work can do.
And he had it.
Oh yeah, well he's got that attitude too. He was not going to take no for an answer. Top of the order in Jeff Houston, who's 0 for 2. He looked at a called third strike and then flied out in shallow center on a fine diving catch by Milt Kyler in the 3rd inning. The walk to Pettis, the first issue by Mark Leiter. Strike 1.
One thing that I'm sure Sparky and Billy Muffet, his pitching coach, are watching, because Leiter has been in the bullpen, they're watching for that little crack. And that leadoff walk might be an indication. Sparky hasn't managed all those wins for nothing.
Tony Phillips in on the grass at third base. And a pop-up into left center field. Kyler and Mosby converging, and it's Lloyd who makes the catch. On the play, Gary Pettis back to first, and we go back to John Saunders.
We showed you Charlie Huff's perfect knuckleball. Well, here's one that is not quite as perfect. Doesn't fool Carlos Quintana. Pulls it to left field. The home run breaking the scoreless tie. Number 6 on the year for Quintana. 1-0 is the lead in the 5th. Back to Steve and Tommy.
Thank you, John. And that game, or not that game, but those two teams will be playing another game. And that will be our game on ESPN tomorrow night. Roger Clemens will toe the rubber for the Red Sox. 8:30 Eastern Time. Most of you will see Boston at Chicago. Rafael Palmeiro, the hitter, takes the ball. He is doubled and flying to left. Leiter's only thrown 81 pitches, and we're through 5 1/3. So he has been cruising for the most part. And a pitch that just missed high. 2-0. Palmeiro over the last 20 games has hit .358 coming into tonight. He's been a model of consistency. Pettis, who has 15 stolen bases, draws a throw.
Yeah, you look at Cecil Fielder over there at first base. A lot of people don't realize Cecil with soft hands. He's a good first baseman.
Yeah, he's a good glove. Ripped it down the line and right for a base hit. Pettis will go to third easily. Rob Deere up with it. And the Rangers have something going with runners at first and third and only 1 out in the 6th. Palmeiro's second hit of the night.
Really a treat to watch Palmeiro. 27 doubles. It's a single right here, but he's tied with Roberto Alomar and Wade Boggs in that category. But what has happened here with Leiter? A couple pitches up early in the game. We didn't see that pitch. So we saw the leadoff walk to Pettis, a pitch up and a base hit. So slowly things are starting to go the other way, and that's why the bullpen gets active for Detroit right now.
And Billy Muffet, the pitching coach, is out for a conference to do 2 things. Find out how Leiter's doing, how he feels. Give him a piece of advice, I'm sure. Talk about how the infield needs to play with first and third and 1 out. And buy a little time for the bullpen to get going.
Well, they want to give John Cerruti time. And the other thing you think as an infielder right now, as Cerruti loosens up, is Ruben Sierra's the hitter. He's not an easy guy to double up. You have a 4-0 lead, the Tigers do, so you just want to make sure you get an out. Don't try to force a double play. If they get a run, if Texas scores a run on a ground ball, okay, you're still ahead 4-1. So don't try to force a double play with a speedy runner. And
Sierra batting from the left side can get down that line in a hurry. High, lazy fly ball, fairly deep left center. Tyler will make the catch. Pettis will tag and score, and it is now 4-1 Detroit. The RBI for Sierra, his 64th of the year.
And the thing that Bobby Valentine is telling the Texas Rangers now, hey, it's only a 3-run deficit. Here's a ballpark where a lot of runs have been scored over the last couple of days. 8-7 ball game last night, Detroit over Texas. Kansas City beat Detroit 18-4 on Sunday. So 3 runs is nothing.
Julio Franco 0 for 2, hit a soft liner to second in the first and grounded to second in the 4th inning. Both ended innings. And he's up there with 2 out right now. Strike 1. Walt Terrell has joined John Cerruti in warming up. Terrell, the right-hander.
Actually, the Tigers, if they could pitch Terrell and Henneman here in Detroit all the time, they'd be in first place by about 15 games.
They're awesome at home, aren't they? All the way back to the screen. Tettleton couldn't get it. And Franco, or rather Palmeiro, will go down to second as Franco now looks at 1 ball, 1 strike.
I would be really surprised, even if Mark Leiter gets through this inning and is able to retire Franco and keep any more runs from scoring. I would be surprised if he goes out for the 7th inning. There comes a time where you almost have to say, okay, that's your limit. You gave me your best. First start of the year after 23 relief appearances. I'd be surprised if he goes back out there.
Yeah, when you pitch out of the pen, you're not asked to pitch 6 innings. And pitching 6 innings would be a bonus. I think he's in his bonus inning right now.
And he has done a job.
Done a great job. A wild pitch charged to Leiter that advances Palmeiro to second. 1 ball, 1 strike. Two and 1.
Seeing more pitches up in the strike zone as well.
Sometimes when pitchers get tired and they know they're getting tired, they tend to push a little bit and they wind up overthrowing. And when they overthrow, the ball rises in and out of the strike zone.
That's a good point. And Kevin Brown, the pitcher for the Rangers tonight, when he overthrows, his sinker straightens out. So he has to stay right there and get good movement. And if he overthrows, that ball just goes flat.
Yeah. And a lot of what you hear sometimes is the advice to stay within yourself. And that's kind of what that means. Outside, 3 and 1. Only 3 hits allowed and only 1 walk. That walk has provided the only run. He has thrown 87 pitches to this point. The Tigers are just looking for the 3rd out here in the 6th inning. You can look for somebody else out there next inning. Ball 4. Franco walks. 2nd walk of the inning and the game for Leiter. And it puts runners at 1st and 2nd with 2 out.
I think one of the reasons, Steve, that Walt Terrell is throwing, he's been in 19 games this year, all as a starter. I believe this is his day to throw in between. And Sparky Anderson may have sent him down there in case he wants a right-hander to come into the game to get a right-hander out and then get him out of there and bring on Cerruti.
Yeah. The Tigers really, we showed you a graphic earlier on these 2 bullpens. Their bullpen is really, other than Henneman, pretty abysmal. Good breaking ball for a strike to 1 Gonzalez. The DH is 0 for 2. He is struck out and popped out in foul territory to Mickey Tettleton, the catcher.
But right now, Mark Leiter has to tell himself this is where he has to reach back. 1 more hitter, 1 more out, and he can go back and relax.
Gonzalez over his last 9 games has hit .344. His average right now standing at .294. Sparky keeps the watchful eye. Popped up and playable in the infield. Fielder And the inning is over. 1 run, 1 hit, and 2 left in the 6th inning for Texas. Mark Leiter has done a fine job and has a 3-run lead. The Rangers have scored to cut it to a 3-run Detroit lead. Sparky Anderson has his Tigers in 2nd place. Behind Toronto. Rob Deere, batting for the first time, hits the first pitch on the ground for out number 1. Jeff Houston has been busy tonight.
Say, since the first inning, 11 of the outs by Brown and the Rangers have been recorded on the ground. And that's exactly what we talked about. That's how Kevin Brown pitches. And even in the first inning, you think of the base hits. 3 of the 4 base hits were ground ball base
Absolutely.
hits.
There have really only been 3 balls hit in the air by the Tigers in play. Not foul balls like that one by Fielder for strike 1. Cecil is 2 for 2. But we've had a sacrifice fly, a base hit in the 3rd inning, and a line drive base hit in the 1st. That's what we expected, and that's what Kevin Brown has delivered. Foul back. 0-2.
Say, what a feeling it must have been for Cecil Fielder when he heard someone ask Hall of Famer Ted Williams, who many consider the greatest hitter in the game. Somebody asked Ted Williams if he had a chance, if he were to pay to see some hitters nowadays, who he would go see, and he said the big guy in Detroit, Cecil Fielder. He said he has those Babe Ruth qualities.
You don't get cheated when you watch Cecil, because he's up there hacking. And now he's going to go down hacking. 3rd strikeout for Kevin Brown, and 2 out in the 6th. First time they've been able to retire Fielder.
Well, he has those strikeout qualities as well, and that's one of the things you get. Cecil Fielder with his 79th strikeout of the year.
Would you trade that for a major league leading home run and RBI totals?
Sure.
Any day. 2 out, nobody on for Mickey Tettleton, who can strike out even more than Cecil Fielder, and has. But Tettleton, in spite of that, is having a pretty good year.
Yeah, but they're still both a long way from Rob Deere.
This is true. Rob Deere has already struck out over 100 times.
I asked Tettleton about the pine tar in his bat. I mean, he gets it as high up as you can, within the legal limit, just at the trademark.
Strike 2, 1-2 to Mickey.
He pointed out a few other hitters that do the same thing. George Brett being one. George got caught in time.
The infamous incident in Yankee Stadium. One thing that the bat manufacturers have done also is they have moved the label farther up the barrel of the bat. Sharply grounded off the chest of Palmeiro. He stays with it, and Kevin Brown covers to get it. Tettleton goes down, and the Detroit Tigers go in order once again, but they still lead by 3.
ESPN Major League Baseball is brought to you by Milwaukee's Best. Here's to the best, Milwaukee's Best. By Dream Week, the authentic big league experience where adult sports dreams really do come true. And by Burger King, where you always get great tasting food your way, right away.
Let's go back and take a look at the play of Rafael Palmeiro and Kevin Brown.
Well, a good play by Palmeiro just to knock it down and keep it in front of him, but almost a mistake by Kevin Brown. He got to first base quickly, but it's a play that's practiced a lot in spring training. When a first baseman bobbles the ball, the pitcher has to kind of time it, not get over there so fast. Brown almost came off the bag, but a good play on both parts.
So we move to inning number 7 with Detroit leading 4-1, and to the amazement of some, Mark Leiter is back out on the mound, and Kevin Reimer will lead it off for Texas.
I think just this just goes to show the type of personnel Sparky Anderson has to work with. We talked about how he has to manage differently with this makeup than he did in other years with different ball clubs. He's afraid to go into the bullpen right now, and I'm really surprised that Leiter is still out there.
A strike call.
And not because he's not pitching well. He's done a tremendous job tonight, but the fact that he's working in the 7th inning right now.
Now he wants to get to Henneman, because that's about the only strength he has that he knows he can most of the time at least rely on. And he doesn't want to bring him in too soon. But this is a big bonus for the Tigers if Mark Leiter can pitch well here in the 7th inning after all those relief appearances, this being his first start. 3-1 to Reimer, who's 1 for 2.
Leiter earlier in the year had to go on the disabled list back in June, had a strained muscle in his side. But he has done what Sparky Anderson and his staff wanted tonight.
Back out of play, 3-2. And ball 4. That's the way the 6th inning started, with a walk. Well, you saw, if you were with us earlier, Alan Trammell jam his ankle on the bag at first. This was just a few minutes ago when Alan was taken to the hospital where they are x-raying that ankle to determine the extent of the damage. He was in the training room for quite a while after he injured it. But he is apparently by now at the hospital where x-rays are being taken, and we will update you on the progress as we receive reports. And that's going to be it for Mark Leiter, who pitches very well and maybe should not have started the 7th inning, but the walk has gotten him out of there, and Walt Terrell's in. Walt Terrell makes his first relief appearance of the year after 19 starts, as Mark Leiter sits down after walking Kevin Reimer to open the 7th inning.
You know, Steve, it's really hard to disagree with a manager who's won over 1,900 games. But to bring in Terrell, who has started 19, as you said, has not pitched in relief, seems more logical to bring him in to start the inning. And that was just an example of Sparky, who used to be known as Captain Hook, going with Leiter and just wishing and hoping that he could get another inning out of him and maybe get to Henneman.
And not have to use Terrell at all.
That's right. It didn't work. Terrell will go back into the starting rotation somewhere down the line.
Well, one thing about it, Sparky knows better than anyone what he has to work with and what's capable of happening, and he's going to, you know, play the cards he's been dealt as best he can, and there aren't many that can play him better than he can. Cut off by Phillips. They get the force, but not the double play. Dean Palmer hustling down the line, beats the double play, one away. And let's go back to the studio for an update from John.
Cards in the Reds, and Chris Sabo is having quite a night. Here in the 5th, facing Jose De Leon. Lifts this ball to left field. Where else would Chris Sabo go with it? His 13th home run of the year. He also has 4 runs batted in, a single and a double along with the home run. It's now 6-4 in the 6th. Let's get it back to Steve and Tommy.
Thanks, John. Spuds has a chance to hit for the cycle. He's only missing the ever-elusive triple tonight.
The Reds trying to snap that 7-game losing streak, too.
He's helping him. Here's Ivan Rodriguez. Ivan 0 for 2. Fly deep to right and popped up to second. Ball 1. They have another nickname for Rodriguez. Of course, as you mentioned earlier, his boyhood fellows call him Pudge. They also call him Ninja Turtle. Ask him why they call him Ninja Turtle. Because he looks like one. Sounds like something Buechel would hang on somebody.
That's right. Jose Guzman is the one who tagged him with that. There's Mark Leiter. What a night. He can be proud of his performance. So can Sparky. Good, solid job.
And he leaves the game on the winning side of the ledger with a 3-run lead. 1 on, 1 out. Ball 2 the count to Rodriguez. 2-1.
One of the greatest lines I heard about Rodriguez so far is from telecaster Jim Sundberg. Does the television games with the Rangers. Former Gold Glove catcher himself. Knows a little bit about catching. And I asked Sundberg the other night, I said, what does this youngster have to work on to improve in the major leagues? The only thing he said was his English.
It's a good line.
He's that good.
Only his English. Same could be said for some of us announcers. 3-1. Wouldn't it be a day at the beach if you could hit 3-1 every at bat? All 4. So now 2 runners aboard. The Rangers will be able to bring the tying run to the plate, but in this instance, it happens to be a hitter with no power in Gary Pettis. Terrell's first walk. Runners at first and second with 1 out.
And certainly not a hitter that you expect to double up. Terrell does have a good sinker ball with his breaking ball, and that's why he's had success at Tiger Stadium. Infield grass, a little thick, gets a lot of ground ball outs.
Little thick. That's the longest
trying to be
infield
nice.
grass in baseball. We got
Wrigley Field might match it in Chicago.
You're right. That's over the shoe tops. Strike 1. Well, when you have a middle infield like the Tigers do, Trammell, of course, hurting out of there, unfortunately, but with Whitaker and Trammell, 14-year veterans, you want to give them a little help. So they grow it long here at Tiger Stadium. And the balls get slowed down a little bit. Ripped, snagged by Whitaker. What a play. They can't get the double play as Lou could not get the ball out of the webbing of his glove. And now they tag out Dean Palmer. Apparently they ruled no catch. I didn't see Whitaker drop the ball.
He never really had possession, though, reaching in with the other hand. That's why the call was made no catch by second base umpire Don Denkinger.
He was struggling to get the ball out, but I sure thought he caught it. Now, it isn't a catch until he reaches in there and pulls it out. Oh, there it goes.
And he never has possession.
Yeah.
You have to pull it out cleanly.
Yeah,
and then almost a mix-up by the Rangers in their base running.
Yeah. Right
Everybody's
now,
safe.
Yeah, see, Palmer has to run. Palmer has to run, and he doesn't realize it. I don't think he knew that Whitaker dropped the ball either.
He's wondering why he has to run.
Why do I have to run? I thought he caught the ball.
He also came up with a little tender ankle or knee, limping off the field.
He twisted around twice there, and that's tough. From where I was looking at the play live, I couldn't see Whitaker drop the ball because his body shielded me. And, of course, Palmer's taking off for third, and even scrambling back, he's not watching. He's listening to the coach and trying to get to the bag. So he had no idea. So an unusual play for out number 2, but runners at first and second now with 2 out. And a wild pitch, and the runners will advance. Pettis incidentally reaches, I'm assuming, on a fielder's choice. They wouldn't give
fielder's choice. They go
error on
4-1 on the fielder's choice.
Palmer retired on the 4-1 play. So the wild pitch puts runners at second and third. And the count, 1 ball, no strikes to Jeff Houston, who's 0 for 3.
Brian Downing is the hitter.
Oh, Brian Downing.
Come on, because even though he's a right-hander facing a right-hander, Bobby Valentine wants the power up there right now of Brian Downing.
Texas with a chance to tie the game. 2 balls and no strikes to Downing. Here again, the bullpen story, and that's why Walt Terrell, making his first relief appearance, is in the game for Detroit. Downing hitting .275, and he takes a strike, 2-1. As a pinch hitter, Downing is hitting .333. He's 4 for 12 with 2 pinch hit RBIs. And like most veterans, will hit better with the runners on than the bases empty. Three and one.
And the other point, Steve, that I mentioned earlier, what a difference it may have been for Terrell had he come on to start the inning fresh, as he's used to as a starter, with no one on base. But after the leadoff walk to Kevin Reimer, then Terrell came into the game.
I couldn't agree with you more. And as you say, it's tough to disagree with Sparky and the success he's had, but it just makes a lot of sense to do it the other way. Downing with a looper. He got jammed. Tough play for Fryman. Tyler can't get it. 2-run score, and it's a 1-run ball game. A looping pinch hit base hit by Brian Downing scores both Rodriguez and Pettis, and it is now 4-3 Detroit.
Second time we've seen a ball drop on a broken bat blooper. And again, Downing has that power, so Kyler playing deep isn't able to catch up to it, and it's just out of the reach of Travis Fryman. Good effort by Kyler. He gets there, but can't quite get the glove on it.
And with 2 out, of course, the runners were going with the contact. And that's going to do it for Walt Terrell, whose first relief appearance does not turn out too well. We'll be right back.
4.5 game lead now over the New York Mets, winning 6 in a row. Here's some great defense by the Astros. Ken Caminiti, who robs Jose Lean to keep the game tied at 3 apiece. But in the 6th, Darryl Kyle facing pinch hitter Gary Varsho. This is 3rd home run of the year. The 2-run shot makes it 5-3. Kyle then would hit Gary Reedus, the next batter he faced, and gets tossed from the game. 5-3 the score in the 6th as the Pirates go for 7 straight.
Thank you, John. And they are tough. John Cerruti on in relief. Walt Terrell going just 2/3 of an inning, charged with 2 runs, and now it's a 1-run game. The tying run is on. And Cerruti, who is 1-2 with 1 save, trying to get the 3rd out. Mario Diaz, a shortstop, is going to pinch run for Brian Downing, who got the big 2-out broken bat base hit to drive in those 2 runs. And here's Rafael Palmeiro, who is 2 for 3. Ball 1.
Diaz will play short, with Downing having pinch hit for the shortstop, Jeff Houston. No problem for Palmeiro. Left-handers last year, Palmeiro hit over .330 against.
High, deep drive, and this ball is gone. The Rangers take a 1-run lead as Cerruti is greeted by a 2-run home run by Rafael Palmeiro. Earlier, Palmeiro hit the facade above the upper deck foul. This time, he does it in fair territory. His 14th home run of the year, his 3rd hit of the night. And the Rangers have scored 4 here in the 7th to lead by 1.
Well, last year in almost 200 at-bats against lefties, Palmeiro hit .339. So he hangs in there. His 14th home run ties his career high. Did it with the Cubs, did it last year with Texas.
Ruben Sierra, the hitter. He's 0 for 2, but he drove in a run with a sacrifice fly in the 6th. The first run the Rangers scored. They now lead it 5-4. And Sierra with a drive to right. Rob Deere going back, makes the catch just short of the wall, and the inning is finally over. The Rangers score 4 times in the 7th and lead by 1. Thank you very much, John. It is a big turnaround as the Rangers now lead. Steve Buechele into the game at 3rd base, and of course Mario Diaz, who pinch ran, stays in the game and plays shortstop defensively for the Rangers. Pete Incaviglia 0 for 2 with an RBI. Takes ball 2. Incaviglia, Mosby, and Fryman against Kevin Brown, who as good a job as Mark Leiter did, who now has no decision out of the game. Brown has pitched very well. Diaz gets tested right away and responds, out number 1. Kevin Brown has now retired 11 in a row and 18 in the last 19.
Tell you, Steve, one thing that we certainly need to touch on, and it really has been the key play in this whole ball game. This line drive could have gotten Detroit out of the inning. It wasn't an infield fly rule call because of the line drive. Once Terrell has it right here, if he throws to third, they get one out. They go back to second base. They get a double play, and they're out of the inning.
Right. The Rangers messed it up with some bad base running, but you can't really blame them under the way the play started. But the Tigers really blew the opportunity to get out of the inning. Mosby with a base hit into center field. And that breaks the string of 11 in a row. Retired by Kevin Brown.
And you have to wonder, Steve, thinking about that play, with the reaction of the infield, maybe a yell by Alan Trammell if he's at shortstop to the pitcher, Walt Terrell, go to third, go to third. Maybe it's a whole different story with Trammell out there.
That's true. Here is Travis Fryman, who has struck out swinging twice. The drive to center field, Gary Pettis right there. So out number 2 as Mosby retreats to first.
I tell you, earlier in one of our cut-ins, we saw the knuckleball of Charlie Huff of the White Sox. Every once in a while in the outfield, you get a knuckleball hit to you. The ball reacts off the bat. That's what it was that time to Gary Pettis.
That's the hardest ball for a center fielder, is a ball hit right at you or right over your head.
As easy as he made that look, it's a difficult play.
2 out with Mosby at first for Milt Tyler, who's 0 for 2. He's grounded out twice. And that ball to center field by Fryman, only the 4th ball hit in the air in the field of play against Kevin Brown tonight. He has had him pounding it down into the ground.
This is that good combination we talked about earlier. Kevin Brown, a quick move to first, has a good quick move to the plate, and then with the strong arm of Ivan Rodriguez behind the plate. It's a difficult combo to steal against.
And Mosby is capable of stealing. The Tigers don't run a whole lot with the exception of Tyler, and Mosby is 4 out of 5 in stolen base attempts.
The Shaker, as his nickname has been over the years, established up in Toronto.
Many great years with the Blue Jays.
Bell, Mosby, and Barfield.
None of them there any longer. What an outfield they had. Kenny Rogers starting to loosen up for Texas. As the Rangers now have the lead, they're getting into his territory.
Yeah, the key for Valentine is Rogers and then try to get it for Jeff Russell to close it out.
Ground ball to first. Easy play for Palmeiro, and the inning is over. 1 hit and 1 left in the 7th for Detroit. Kevin Brown in charge, and now he has the lead. Thank you, John. Well, now we've gone from the 4-0 score to the 1-run game. Seems to be the order of the evening, and we have another one here. The Detroit lineup card of Sparky Anderson reflecting the changes that have taken place in the game. And as we go to the top half of the 8th inning, Julio Franco leads it off for the Rangers and fouls the first pitch out of play. John Cerruti came on in the 7th inning after Walt Terrell had relieved Mark Leiter in the 7th inning. And after Leiter, who had only given up 1 run on 2 hits, left the game on the winning side of the ledger, Cerruti finds himself now the losing pitcher of record, having given up the 2-run home run to Rafael Palmeiro that put the Rangers in front. Strike 2 to Franco.
Seeing that scorecard of Sparky's, Sparky Anderson very outspoken against the DH, even though he manages in the American League.
I'm on his side. Outside, 1 and 2. I never really have cared for it, and I think that the way it's changed over the years from its original intention has dampened whatever enthusiasm I might have originally had for it. It used to be that, you know, you saw guys who were in the twilight of their career, power hitters in particular, giving an opportunity to stay on and fans to see them. Maybe if they were in the National League or the majority of their career, they came to the American League in DH. Now it's not even power hitters a lot of times that are the designated hitter.
Yeah, sometimes a leadoff guy.
Yeah.
Number 9 hitter. I've seen
Right.
the DH and number 9 spot.
It's just not what it was. And, you know, granted, it was there to generate interest in offense and excitement for the fans, but I think it changes the game too much, and it doesn't really do what it was originally intended to do. 3-2 now to Franco.
Now I will remove the soapbox.
Thank you very much.
Steve Zabriskie, and he's completed with his DH dissertation.
But you know the bottom line to all that is, Hut, who really cares what I think? Nobody. What difference is going to make in whether we keep it or not? Charged by Fryman. Franco, an easy out number 1 here in the 8th inning. And that'll bring up Juan Gonzalez, the designated hitter for Texas tonight. He's 0 for 3. Struck out, popped out twice.
Even though Gonzalez missed some time early in the season, he's played 68 games. This is his 69th. He still has 57 RBIs, so it's been a productive 21-year-old for the Texas Rangers.
A breaking ball for a strike, 1-1.
Talked about Gonzalez having signed when he was 16 years of age. The day he did sign in Puerto Rico, at his house was a 14-year-old who came over, Ivan Rodriguez, and said, you know, someday we're going to play together. What are the odds of that?
That's right. And his prediction came true.
You know, not only for those two youngsters to make it to the major leagues, but to be teammates on the same club.
Absolutely.
Of course, that's redundant. Teammates on the same club.
Yeah. That's hard to be teammates when you're on different clubs. One out, nobody on. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And he barely got a piece of a bad pitch to hang in there.
It's been a funny road that the Rangers have gone. We talked about their league-leading batting average. A lot of that was compiled during their 14-game win streak. This month they've hit just 240, but their team average is 273. During that 14-game winning streak, the Rangers hit almost 350 and had 19 home runs.
Grounded to third. Tony Phillips in the dirt, picked by fielder nicely with those good hands. 2 away. In case you didn't know what day it was, you're watching Tuesday Night Baseball here on ESPN. Game 1 of our doubleheader. That's who we are. That's where we are. Where we are. And it couldn't be nicer at Tiger Stadium this evening, and we're seeing a pretty good ball game. The Rangers have come from behind, and 4-run innings have been the fare tonight. Detroit with 4 runs in the first, and the Rangers with 4 runs in the 7th. The difference, the 1 run the Rangers got in the 6th. They lead it 5-4. Kevin Reimer, the hitter. And John Russell. Pinch hitter.
Valentine going to the bench. John Russell is going to hit off the left-hander. Reimer, a left-handed hitter.
Bounces away, but nobody on base. A little shaving of the handle.
Hey, sometimes you get the bat order, and you grab the bat, and it's just not right. The handle might be a little thicker than you wanted, so you go to work. You spend your time wisely on the bench.
A little Whitland time. Make it just the way you want it. Breaking ball, ripped foul. And the left field line in the upper deck.
The kids always whittle away from your body.
Yeah, yes. Yes. I can remember as a kid using a bottle cap, you know, to shave down the bat a little bit. Safer than a knife. took longer.
Remember the days of the bone?
Oh, yeah.
The bone down the barrel?
Guys that they'd have, there's some clubs that still do.
Still do in the clubhouse.
Yeah, they'll have a bone, a big old bone mounted as if it were on a plaque, but it'll sit flat on the table, and you can sit there or stand there and rub that barrel of that bat, push that grain together. I used to look for those bats that had that pumpkinwood grain. You could sort of almost push it together. They don't do that as much anymore, I don't think. Russell down on strikes at another 1-2-3 inning. So Rudy gets things back on track here in the 8th. Well, just in case you were thinking about it, this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball, and it may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. Bottom of the 8th in Detroit with the Tigers down by 1. Top of the order for Detroit, Tony Phillips to lead it off against Kevin Brown, who has pitched very well and battled back with the help of his buddies to have the lead. John Russell remains in the game after hitting for Kevin Reimer. Takes his place defensively in left field. His 4th game in left field this year. John Russell primarily has been a catcher throughout most of his career. Tony Phillips tonight, 1 for 3. He singled to center and scored in the 1st inning.
You know, aside from everything else that Tony Phillips is able to do, he comes to the park every day with a great attitude. Always a smile, happy to be in the big leagues.
A strike at the knee.
Don't forget, too, about Kevin Brown. In his 18 starts, this is 19th start of the year. He's yet to throw a complete game. And you know Bobby Valentine knows that. Tom House, pitching coach.
And the Ranger bullpen is busy. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Phillips. Whitaker on deck.
The other thing they also know that is the fact that Jeff Russell has thrown a lot of innings, more than they want. They'd like to just get him in to start the 9th.
Phillips goes down on a breezer, 2-2, and it was Tony who hit the 3-2 pitch out in the 9th inning last night to break the 7-7 tie and give the Tigers an 8-7 win.
Well, it was, but certainly the last thing on Brown's mind is to hit Phillips, put him on base in a 1-run ball game. I think he just wanted to get it up there.
A little move back.
For a reason, but he certainly didn't want to hit him. He doesn't want to hit the leadoff man.
Nope. Won't put that tying run on.
No, not at this point of the game.
2-2. Just inside and a full count to Phillips. Jeff Russell has now joined Kenny Rogers in the Texas bullpen.
A little R&R in the bullpen.
Phillips asking for time.
Another one of the things Tony Phillips does so well as a leadoff man, you want to see your leadoff man see a lot of pitches, get deep into the count all the time. Tony Phillips does it.
Out of play. Of the 22 batters that Kevin Brown has faced since the 1st inning, when there were 4 consecutive hits and a walk to start the 1st inning for Detroit, of those 22 hitters, he has retired 20. He allowed a single to Cecil Fielder in the 3rd and a single to Lloyd Mosby in the 7th. That's going to drift out of play behind the Tigers dugout. And the count remains 3-2.
Yeah, it's funny, and we talked about it at the time. If he could come back in the 2nd inning and have himself a 1-2-3 inning, which is what he did, then he could get himself back on track. Some pitchers aren't able to do that. To Kevin Brown's credit, he's able to do it. He did it tonight.
And as an added bonus, he's now pitching with the lead. On the ground sharply towards second. Franco to Palmeiro. One away in the 8th, and we'll go back to John Saunders.
Dodgers were down by 2 runs in the 9th inning. 1 gone, 1 aboard. Terry Mulholland to Gary Carter. Sends it deep to left, but fooled you. Not a home run. Wes Chamberlain was there to grab it at the wall, and the Dodgers lose now for the 6th consecutive time. 3-1 is the final. Back to Steve and Tommy.
Well, I guess there is some validity to the statement that baseball is a game of inches.
Hey, the Dodgers can't shake that 4-game sweep up in Montreal.
Nope, and then we put them back on their heels. A drive by Whitaker to center field, caught by Gary Pettis in another difficult play as Pettis has to stay with it for out number 2.
Oh, that defense. And in a 1-run game, it's even more important. 5 times Pettis with a Gold Glove gets a good jump and then keeps the concentration. He knows just as he's getting ready to catch that ball, he knows he's going to have to go down on the ground. So he has to keep the concentration in order to make the catch and complete the play.
And if there's one guy that may be pushing the borders of the rule on the length of fielders' gloves, it might be Gary Pettis. They're trying to enforce the rule on the length of gloves. There are some guys walking around there that have highlight cestas.
Yeah, they clamped down a little bit last year.
Yeah. Haven't heard as much about it this year. 2 out, nobody on for Rob Deere, who's 0 for 1. He grounded to short, and he hits it deep to left. Way back. This game is tied. For the Tigers, their league-leading 115th home run.
Well, we've talked about the all-or-nothingness of some of the hitters on the Tigers. Rob Deere, even though he's on a pace to possibly strike out over 200 times, he could also hit 33 home runs, and that's why they have him.
His 18th home run of the year ties the game at 5 here in the 8th inning. And Cecil Fielder, who is 2 for 3 with a run scored, is the hitter. Kevin Brown now up to 95 pitches tonight. Fielder breaks his bat, but hits it down the left field line. Russell over makes the catch. Cecil flirting with the lead for Detroit, but they tie the game on Rob Deere's 18th dinger of the year. Had Cecil Fielder not broken his bat, this ball may still be going. He hit it about 325 off the hands.
Well, when you have that kind of weight shift and turn to get to the ball, even when you do break a bat, you can hit it over 300 feet.
Well, Sparky Anderson is doing some unusual things here. Cerruti warmed up, and I'm sure they just wanted to get Henneman some extra time in the bullpen. But he's going to make a change before the inning even begins as we go to the 9th, tied at 5. And Henneman will come in to replace Cerruti. Now we are going to go to the top of the 9th inning, and it will be Henneman in the pitch, 6-2 with 13 saves as we start the 9th. And Steve Buechele will bat for the first time.
Well, the reason Sparky made this move, he wanted Henneman, as you suggested, to have more time. With right-handers coming up, Cerruti went out, took his tosses, but all that time, Henneman was down in the bullpen, throwing a few extra.
Sparky trying to get him every extra pitch he could, because you're limited when you come in. Buechele hitting .274, 13 homers and 42 RBIs. Thought he was going to have the night off, but has wound up playing third, and now bats for the first time leading off the 9th.
I tell you, quietly, Steve Buechele has put together a solid season. He leads all third basemen in fielding, and So many times you mentioned Franco and Sierra and Gonzalez. You forget to mention Steve Buechele. He was instrumental in that winning streak. A lot of key base hits during that 14-game win streak.
That's right. And his taking charge, so to speak, of the third base job and emerging as a real solid everyday player has allowed the Rangers to do some things with their club. One area where now they don't have to bother with them, don't have to worry about it. And it's fastball for a strike.
Hey, this is the guy, though, Mike Henneman, that Sparky Anderson wants in the ball game. Henneman has been successful both home on the road, but especially so here at Tiger Stadium. 31-6 is his lifetime record at Tiger Stadium.
And that doesn't even take into account how many saves he's generated. Grounded foul, and it's 3-2.
Well, we've seen some pretty good sinker ballers tonight. Walt Terrell was in the game. Sparky Anderson had him out there. He saw Kevin Brown work. And now Mike Henneman. All right-handers who get some good movement and get a lot of ground balls.
Buechele will be followed by Ivan Rodriguez and Gary Pettis. Buechele down on strikes as Henneman gets the first out of the 9th inning. And let's go get an update from John.
Cards and the Reds, and Cincinnati up 8-6, trying to close in. Randy Myers on in relief. A runner aboard, and Ozzie Smith and Gerald Perry lifts it to the opposite field, gone for his 5th home run of the year, and ties the game 6-6. That's where they stand now in the 8th. Back to you. I thought you told me it was...
Well, those Reds, they are struggling. Here we are tied as well. Well, I'll tell you what, following form all around baseball tonight. Ivan Rodriguez.
By the way, Steve, we just got a report that Alan Trammell is back from the hospital after x-rays. A sprained ankle. He's on a day-to-day situation. So good news for Tiger fans, good news for baseball fans. You hate to see a player such as Alan Trammell, any player for that matter, get injured seriously.
Good thing the x-rays were negative, and quite often you can really do some ligament and tendon damage in that ankle. This pitch not really as close as Rodriguez makes it appear. It sort of got away from Henneman a little bit.
Yeah, and all his movement, see all the body moving toward the plate. And so by the time he was about halfway through his stride, there was really no chance for the youngster to get out of the way of the pitch.
Grounded to third. Tony Phillips backs up for the hop. Throws high and safe at first as fielder tried to swipe and make a tag. And now Rodriguez may have hurt himself with a very awkward pass at the first base bag.
Yeah, that's why it's tough when you go up the first base line quickly. It's hard to change gears when you see the first baseman come off the bag.
And you don't want to run into Cecil Fielder.
Rodriguez saw the youngster, or saw the throw go offline. Second time Phillips has thrown wildly. One time he was saved on a low throw. He sees Fielder come off the bag, so he tries to change direction. And anytime you do anything that's awkward, you always put yourself vulnerable. Look, he knew he was going to miss the bag with his feet. He tagged it with his hand. So earlier, inning or two ago, Tony Phillips threw low, and it was picked by Cecil Fielder. This time he throws high. Cecil has to go up for it. I'll give credit to Rodriguez, heads up on his part, but you really make yourself vulnerable to an injury when you make that kind of last-minute adjustment.
He reaches on an error. It is a throwing error charged to Tony Phillips. So the Rangers have the potential go-ahead run at first with one out for Gary Pettis. Pettis tonight 0 for 2, but he has scored twice. He walked and reached on a fielder's choice. And a drive to right. Deere can't get there. Rodriguez going for third. The throw cut off, and runners at first and third with one out for Texas in the 9th inning.
I tell you what, we have focused and talked a lot about Rodriguez and his catching ability. Here's a 19-year-old. He tries to make an adjustment on a tough play at first base. then heads-up base running. He saw that ball as soon as Pettis hit it. He knew he was going to go from first to third. He took off full speed ahead. Good base running by Ivan Rodriguez, who's learning every day. Every day he learns something new in the major leagues, and that's the way it's going to be for the next year or so.
That's right. You think about the guys who have had to do that, like Robin Yount, who started at the age of 19 in the big leagues. And it's a two-edged sword. It's a great experience to be able to be in the big leagues that young, but it's a difficult place to learn. You don't have the benefit that you do in the minor leagues of the instruction and the time to work on things. There's a lot more pressure, and you're expected to do things here, not learn to do things.
Don't rule out a bunt with Diaz, the hitter.
It's high. Ball one.
With one down, Bobby Valentine, schooled in the Dodgers organization. They're an organization that likes to teach that squeeze play. The only thing you think about, you have a rookie at third base as the runner. And you want to make sure he gets the sign. You want to make sure both players involved have the sign. But it wouldn't surprise me if you do see the squeeze.
Tony Phillips is in on the edge of the grass, the third baseman for Detroit. One out, runners at first and third, a tie game in the ninth inning. Strike, 1-1. Mario Diaz batting for the first time, hitting .272. Just one home run. Rafael Palmeiro, who has 3 hits, a single, a double, and a home run, is on deck. And it was Palmeiro's 2-run home run in the 7th that turned the game in Texas' favor from a 5-4 deficit, or a 4-3 deficit, to a 5-4 lead. The Tigers subsequently tying it with a run in the bottom of the 8th inning. Pounded out in front of the plate. It may be a swinging bunt. What a play by Phillips. Bobby Valentine may have to talk to home plate umpire Durwood Merrill. A very close play at home plate. But Tony Phillips with a superb play on what amounted to a swinging bunt.
Just a quick check by Valentine on this chopper. Charged well by Phillips. Has to barehand it. If he doesn't barehand, and a nice block by Mickey Tettleton to keep Rodriguez away from the plate. Tough vantage point for Valentine to see. He can't believe the call, but all he wanted to know from Durwood Merrill, the home plate umpire, is if Rodriguez reached the plate. Durwood said no, he didn't. He was blocked off and the throw beating.
So Diaz reaches on the fielder's choice, which goes 5-2, preventing the go-ahead run from scoring. 2 out in the 9th for Palmeiro, who now has runners at first and second.
Funny, it's been defense in this game for the Tigers. Hurt them a couple of innings ago when they had a chance on a strange play to turn a double play, get him out of the inning. And a bad throw by Tony Phillips earlier in this inning, but then a great play by Phillips to get the out at the plate.
1 ball that counts to Palmeiro. All right, there's the patented Henneman sinker. Even though it was a little up in the strike zone, it had that good downward movement.
Yeah,
and Palmeiro right over the top.
Took a little bit off that, too.
1-1.
Anytime you can fool a hitter such as a Rafael Palmeiro, takes a little bit off and has Palmeiro out front.
Foul ball. 1-2.
With 2 out, you have to be alive in the infield. You try to knock the ball down. You don't want it to get through to the outfield, because with Pettis, the runner at second, tremendous speed, he'll score if it gets into the outfield. The outfielders, on the other hand, they're aware of Pettis. They know that if the base hit is hit sharply, they've got to come up and fire hard and fire accurately.
A 5-5 tie with 2 out in the top of the 9th inning. Runners at first and second. And a 1-ball, 2-strike count to Palmeiro. A looper into left. Here comes Mosby, who makes the catch. The Tigers had the 9th inning heroics in the bottom of the 9th last night against the Rangers. Can they do it again? The storyline on tonight's game shows a story of 4-run innings. The Tigers with 4 in the first, the Rangers with 4 in the 7th, and the Rangers battling back, and then the Tigers with Rob Deere homering in the bottom of the 8th inning, tying the game at 5-5. And now we find ourselves in the bottom of the 9th. Kevin Brown has gone all the way for Texas. And here he will face Pete Incaviglia after Mickey Tettleton and followed by Lloyd Mosby. Incaviglia will have a chance to do a little damage to his former team. And the appeal and a strike to Tettleton. Third base umpire Larry McCoy.
If Tettleton gives him that chance.
Very true. Kevin Brown to this point has thrown 97 pitches, not a high number. Working in the 9th.
This is one of those matchups. You have a good sinker ball pitcher who keeps everything down, but you have an excellent low ball hitter in Mickey Tettleton.
Especially hitting from the left side, as Tettleton is a switch hitter. Sharply hit into the hole, off the glove of Franco. Tettleton will stop at first. Julio Franco could not come up with it. And the Tigers have the potential winning run on with nobody out in the 9th.
A breaking ball, and this is one that Tettleton hits sharply, gets a lot of topspin on it, and when it bounces that last hop, it just skips off the glove of Franco. Now, a runner that has a little more speed, Tettleton now leaving for a pinch runner, may have tried to go to second base because that ball trickled away from Franco a little further than he thought. Skeeter Barnes is the pinch runner.
And it is Skeeter who carries the potential winning run, and it is Pete Incaviglia who will stand in. Incaviglia's 0 for 3. He did drive in a run, grounding out in the first inning as Barnes is chased back.
Brown going over to first base to see if Incaviglia is going to show bunt.
Game 2 of the doubleheader, Baltimore at California, coming up next. Incaviglia does bunt. Russell with a good play, but he'll have to go to first as the sacrifice moves Barnes into scoring position with 1 out.
I'll give credit to Pete Incaviglia, who probably wasn't asked to do that very much as a Texas Ranger player. Maybe not revenge in the way he had planned on a home run, but he dropped down a nice sacrifice to get Barnes into scoring position.
Lloyd Mosby. Shaker is 1 for 2. He did drive in a run with a sacrifice fly, and he will be walked intentionally.
You know, things happen so quickly in that 8th inning after the Deere home run that tied the ball game. The next out on the Cecil Fielder fly ball. That home run also broke the 0 for 17 that Rob Deere had.
That's right. Travis Fryman will hit next.
You get into this point of a ball game, tie score, 9th inning, and then as you move into extra innings, if that does happen, you start to look at the benches. So far, Bobby Valentine left with just Mike Stanley. Sparky Anderson in a little better shape. Mark Salas, Dave Bergman, John Shelby, and Andy Allenson left.
Let's get an update from John Saunders.
Twins and the Brewers in the 9th inning. Dan Plesac tried to nail down a 2-1 lead, but Brian Harper with a runner aboard to left field. Gone for the home run. 3-2 is the lead. Minnesota on top now as Minnesota tries to retain their lead and increase it in the West. Meantime, in Cincinnati with 7-6 Reds in the 9th, Rob Dibble has been perfect this year. 23 of 23 in save opportunities, but Ozzie Smith gets to him. scoring a couple of runs as the Cardinals take the lead. And Rob Dibble has blown his first save of the year. 8-7 is the score now in the ninth. Let's get it back to Steve and Tommy.
Thank you, John. Boy, what a year Ozzie is having, and what a bad stretch the Reds are having. Jeff Russell is into the game with 1 out in the ninth, and we'll be back to Detroit with a 5-5 tie.
Sure.
Jeff Russell with a record of 3-2 and 18 saves. On in relief, Kevin Brown pitched very well for 8 1/3, but there are 2 runners aboard in a 5-5 tie in the bottom of the ninth inning. Travis Fryman, the hitter. And Fryman drives one to center. Dropped the ball. Pettis dropped the ball. The bases will be loaded. How often do you see Gary Pettis drop a ball, let alone make an error?
Similar to a ball in the 8th inning that was lined out to center by Lou Whitaker. Pettis came on. That knuckleball effect, same type ball that Fryman hit. He came on to make the catch. He was going to try and come up with a throw as well, and the ball came out of his glove. Sparky will take it any way he can.
With Milt Kyler, the scheduled hitter, Dave Bergman, a left-handed hitter, although Kyler is a switch hitter, is out of the dugout. The pinch hit for Detroit. It is, of course, scored as an error against Gary Pettis. It loads the bases with 1 out in the ninth.
And by the way, setting up this entire inning, we talked about the few times that Incaviglia was probably asked to drop down a sacrifice. Well, that was the first sacrifice bunt of his career.
And you saw the final there as Boston defeated Chicago 2-0, and Jeff Reardon got the save. Those 2 teams will be tomorrow night at 8:30 Eastern here on ESPN on Wednesday Night Baseball. Well, here's Bergie. Dave Bergman, who for a number of years has played an important role for the Detroit Tigers as a first baseman, a utility player, pinch hitter. Has not had great success against Russell, however. Only 1 for 10. Batting for Milt Kyler. Runners at first and second. 1 away. I'm sorry, bases loaded and 1 away. Bergman with a high fly ball. Pettis going back. It probably will be deep enough. Here comes Tettleton. And the Tigers win in the ninth again.
Well, many times Dave Bergman has been called upon to come through in the clutch. He does it here, and the Tigers pull another one out.
Dave Bergman with the sacrifice fly. So this for Tommy Hutton is Steve Zabriskie saying so long as the Tigers win at 6-5.